Yes, welcome. If you have just joined us, go ahead and drop your first and last name in the chat. We are keeping attendance for these classes. Want to make sure that you get credit. I think they may be giving gift cards. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I'm not entirely sure, but want to say welcome once again. And we've got 1 more minute for folks to join.
Well, if they still join later, we'll catch them up, but we're going to get us started.
Yes.
Yes.
We will get us started. All right. It is 2:05. Chef Chad, you can get going. If y'all can hear Chef Chad, go ahead and say something, Chef Chad. If you can hear him really well, give us a thumbs up.
What up, family? How y'all feeling? You ready for another great demo?
Yes, we got a thumbs up, Chef Chad.
I like it. I like it. And also, too, if they speak, I can probably hear them.
Yep. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. If you have a question before we get started, go ahead and unmute yourself. Chef Chad has got his earpiece in his ear. He will totally respond.
Yeah.
But it is 2:05, Chef. You can go ahead and get going. And I will continue to let folks into the room.
Okay, cool. So welcome once again, guys. It is great to see you. I know it's been like a month since we saw each other, so we probably have a lot of stuff to catch up on. We can do that as we cook. Today, we're going to make a nice, light, healthy, but delicious kind of summer treat, right? We don't want to be in the kitchen long in the summer because it's too hot. So today, we're going to do a shrimp po' boy with a quick pasta salad, all right? I'm going to literally go over ingredients, instructions before we start, and then we'll dive right in. Hopefully that gives anybody that's running late another minute or two to catch up before we get into the instructions, but we can always stop and rewind, okay? So anything. All right, so once again, my name is Chef Chad Cherry. It's my pleasure to be here for you. I represent Chef Culture. That's our crew. As I said, we're doing a shrimp po' boy with a cool pasta salad. So ingredients-wise, we have our shrimp. I have my shrimp brine, so it's hard to see it a little bit. I don't want to dip it over. But it's shrimp just in a little bit of water, a little bit of seasoning, just because I had frozen shrimp. I got peeled, deveined, and tail-off shrimp. Now, that's important because when I go to eat my sandwich, I don't want to pull the tail off every time I take a bite. Call me lazy. All right. We've got our peppers, our onion. The recipe called for fresh basil or parsley or oregano. And I was like, we're doing a lot here. So I got some basil pesto, right? That's always good on pasta. Whenever you're working with me, feel free to sub in ingredients. For example, it calls for a jerk barbecue sauce in the recipe and a dry jerk seasoning. While these are readily available all over Miramar, right? You can make jerk barbecue by getting wet jerk, right? And regular barbecue sauce. Now, what they got here is a little nice. That's a little special, but just saying, we can always substitute. And if you don't have dry jerk seasoning, find another seasoning that's still a little bit of spice. But I say that to you because as we're building recipes, we don't have to do exactly what it says. It is okay for us to substitute stuff that we love, that we're used to eating, okay? So always remember that. Coming back to ingredients, we've got grape tomatoes. I like those. They're a little bit smaller than cherry tomatoes. Coleslaw, fresh scallions, zucchini, coconut milk, and whole wheat buns. Okay? Not a lot of stuff. Pretty simple. Ready to dive in. Before I do, are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Just double checking. And if you guys wouldn't mind, I'm gonna just double check to make sure there's no one else to admit, okay? Because sometimes we have people waiting in the waiting room, and I wanna make sure that we do not. More.
Oh, it's raining good.
It's raining? Orlando needs to get some of that rain. All right, so we don't have anybody else in the waiting room yet, so we're gonna start. We always start with what takes the longest, and in this case, it's gonna be our pasta. We're gonna boil our pasta out. So what you wanna do is you wanna get just any kind of stock pot, right? Put it on high, all right? Turn it on, add your water. And if you guys have taken my class before, or if you cook, tell me what else we're about to add to this. Anybody. Just come on mute and you can say it or drop it in the chat. Look. Anybody? Okay. All right, well, this is easy. When you're doing pasta, you want to salt your water. That's for a little bit of flavor. And then you want to add some oil so the pasta doesn't stick. So we're going to use some extra virgin olive oil, some little EVOO. Our recipe calls for this, so we're going to drop this in right here. Okay. A little less than 1/8 of a cup. You don't need a lot. You just need something right there. And then with the salt, once again, it's not a lot of salt. Right? This is kosher salt. That's my preferred brand, but anything you have, just drop a little bit in there. Now we're going to cover this. We're going to forget. Okay. Because it's going to take about 10 minutes for that to come to a rolling boil, we want to start that process first. And while that process is going, we can go and do any of our other things that are necessary. So let's talk about what we should do, right? Because I always believe in prep. Our shrimp is going to be a seasoned and a saute. In the recipe, it says, hey, put the shrimp in a bowl and season it, add the dry jerk, add some goya adobo. We're going to do that right in the pot. So we don't even have to touch it. That's quick. You leave that alone, right? Don't worry about that. But we do have to make our slaw, right? And we do have to make the other ingredients for the pasta. So we're going to have to cut our peppers, cut our onions. We definitely want to cut our tomatoes, and we're going to have to cut our scallion and zucchini. So that's a lot of knife work, okay? Because we only have one of each thing, we can do it pretty quickly, but we still don't want to wait. We want to start knife work as soon as possible, okay? So while our water is boiling, let's go ahead and let's start with our onions and peppers, all right? I'm going to glove up. If you're at home and you have not washed your hands, this is the time to do that, family, all right? You got to be real particular about safety and sanitation, okay?
And again, if you are just joining us, we are taking attendance for this class. Please go ahead and put your first and last name in the chat. I actually just let a bunch of folks in, and there's no one else in the waiting room. So if there's anyone that says that they're not in, let me know. I just checked our waiting room. It looks empty.
And if you're just joining us, please drop your name, full name in the chat, please.
All right, you ready to go, Chef?
Yep, just taking a screenshot. All right, so we're back to it. Welcome again. I'm gonna do a quick recap because we have time. This is a very quick recipe, actually. So we're doing a shrimp po' boy with a cool pasta salad, all right? Now, pasta salad ain't cool because I said so. It's cool because I made it, all right? Only thing we've done so far is go over ingredients and start boiling our water. Okay, you always want to do what takes the longest time. So this is just water, olive oil, and salt. Simple. Okay. We have 2 green peppers. We're going to break both of those down. So this is good because you'll be able to see this twice. Okay, and I just want to make sure that everybody can see me. All right. If you have any issues, anything, remember you can talk to me. Just unmute yourself. I can hear you right here on my earpiece. Okay, so first thing is anything round must be made flat. And because my wife's not here, if I had an extra one, I would jumble for you. But I only have 2. Okay. So, right? So you're gonna cut your butts off. Anything round must be made flat. In the case of peppers, we always have this top we have to get rid of, and we have these seeds that are right in the center. So when you cut your top off, cut your butts off, you can take the tip of your knife, and I'm going to turn so you can see, insert that blade, and disconnect those connectors. Now, for those watching, you want to do this on a cutting board, right? You want to do it here. You don't want to do it, and you just slide it down. You don't want to do it standing up the way I did, because that's how you cut yourself. But you see how easily that came out? Now that that seed pod is out, cut it in half, and what was once round is now flat. We'll put these over here for use to finish, and I'm going to repeat that whole thing again. By the way, if y'all find that I'm going too fast, talk to me. I'm your guy. All right? So, once again, round must go flat. So we're going to cut our butts off. Okay? We're going to also cut this top off. Now, if you cut it and the stem does not come out, take your thumb and just poke it through. See? Stem comes right out pretty easy. Okay? Once again, we've got to get rid of these seeds. So we're going to disconnect. Okay? Disconnect, disconnect. Once again, you guys are cutting on the cutting board and drops right out. Now, something I like to do, which I always just say is a good little kitchen trick, is to not get rid of those extra pieces. So the tops and the bottom, save it. All right, we have enough between these two peppers here for this to look just fine. All right, so what we are going to do is we're going to save these, because in the morning when I want some peppers and onions with my eggs, I don't have to cut a whole pepper. I just got it for later, right? That's just a little trick, okay? When we're cooking, we always try to go fast. Now, when it comes to cutting these, you got to think about what you're eating. So I could do slivers, which are just straight down cuts, right? Just slivers, straight down cuts, nothing too crazy. But now I want to look at this and I want to say to myself, is this the kind of meal where I'm taking a big bite? Or this is the kind of meal where I'm going to take smaller bites? For a sandwich, I think smaller tends to be a little bit better. So we're gonna dice it. So what that means is after you cut the slivers, you just turn them. And this is really a rough dice. It's not a professional dice. I don't want you guys to get hung up on the cuts. The point is to make it small. So even when you're reading from a recipe, I want you to do your own analysis, right? I don't want you to just be like, oh, let me just follow the recipe blindly. Think about the end result. Think about the person who's eating it, especially if this is for your family, right? I know I have kids. I want them to eat peppers and onions. I probably need to make those small. You know, the kids start to look at you funny. They're like, I don't want this. And if it's big, they pick it out. If it's small, they kind of keep it. I know it adds flavor. They won't realize that we're just trying to give them some good stuff till they get old. Simple. And another useful thing, when you're cutting bell peppers, there's a really waxy side. That's the outside. Don't cut on that side. Your knife tends to slip. It doesn't grip as well. I have a really sharp knife. That was a terrible demonstration there, because my knife just cut through that. Point is, cut through the porous side right here, okay? That's just a safety precaution, right? And we're gonna do the same thing with this, right? We're just gonna cut it into slivers. We're gonna turn it.
Excuse me, can you check the chat room?
I can.
There's some people waiting to get in.
Okay, there's more. Hold on one second. I'm gonna do that now. Thank you for giving me the excuse. Okay, hold on one second, y'all, and I'll get people in. All right, 2 seconds, y'all. Right back. guys, 2 seconds, we'll get those people admitted. I'm gonna continue with the cutting, because I wanna keep us on time track. 2:19, we're pretty good. All right, and then when they come in, what I'll do is I'll just review everything that we've done just to get them caught up. All right. And once again, if you are just joining us, please drop your full name into the chat so that we can keep track of who's here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and review real quick. While we're here, once again, if you're just joining us, drop your full name into the chat so that we can review who's here. Okay. What we've got today is we've got a shrimp po' boy and a cool pasta salad. All right. And I keep saying it's cool because, you know, this is what we do. We're cool with our stuff. And I'm trying to take a screenshot because we have to keep attendance now. So screenshots in. All right. So when you're cooking, we always want to do what takes the longest first. So with this recipe, we've got a few moving parts. Nothing too crazy, but we had some cutting to do. So shrimp po' boy is the main part. The pasta salad is the side. However, like most sides, they sometimes take longer than the main. So we have to boil our pasta. To do that, we went ahead and the first thing we did, because it takes the longest, is to get water to a rolling boil. So we added our water, we added our salt, we added our oil, right? Ready to get it. We're gonna drop in our pasta. I'm using just a combo trio Italiano. I love this. I just love the look of it. You guys can use rotini, also vegetable pasta. There's all kinds of different things that you can use. Once again, this is one of those things that you know what your family likes. That's what you run with. When you pour your pasta into the water, you want to stir it. The reason why you stir it instantly is just like rice, so it doesn't stick, it doesn't clump up and get all into one place. So we just stir it, we'll just leave it. It's gonna take it takes about 10 minutes for the water to boil. It's gonna take, 5 to 10 minutes for that to be ready. So we're gonna literally come back and stir that every 2 to 3 minutes. Other than that, we're just gonna leave it alone. We're not gonna do much work on that. We're gonna get back to our mise en place. So preparing our veggies. So we had a red pepper and a green pepper. Those are already done. That takes longer. We're about to do our onions. I've got one rule, y'all, always. Anything round must be made flat. So we're gonna cut our butts off. The reason why we do this is simple. It's safe, okay? There's a lot of different ways you'll see people try to cut onions on the internet. For me, I'm just always thinking about what's safest and easiest for you. So that's how I try to teach. So once again, it was still round even when I cut our butts off, right? But to make it flat, I just cut it in half and you also make it more manageable. When you cut it in half, this outer layer, you want to go ahead and just get rid of that whole thing. So literally peel it, let it go, okay? That outer layer. And at this point, you want to be breathing out of your mouth. If you're breathing out of your nose, guess who's going to start crying? Not this guy. All right. So we're going to dice this. The reason we're doing smaller cuts is because this is all about mouth feel, right? So when you're preparing a dish, you want to really think it through. How is the guest who's enjoying it going to eat this? And if you have kids, smaller is better, especially when it comes to onions and peppers. So to do that, we're going to make our cuts lengthwise. Then we're going to rotate it. We're just going to come back, okay? You're cutting again. When you get to the end of the onion and it's small, lay it flat to give yourself more surface area. Once again, this is all about safety, okay? If you didn't see it, I'm going to do it again for you, all right? We're going to cut lengthwise. Just making sure everything's here. Cut lengthwise, then turn. Cut it this way, I'm at the end, it's gonna be harder to cut down, so I wanna lay it flat. We always wanna think about safety, y'all. Let's get it going. Cut it, that's it. Now our cutting board is starting to get a little full, so let's go ahead and just drop some of this into our bowl. Okay. Just using my hand, I just put the bowl right under the lip of the cutting board. So if you're on a counter, pull your cutting board just a little over the edge of the counter, put the bowl underneath it, scoop it right in, super easy. Okay, now we've got that in there. We still have 2 other things to prep, and then we get to the fun stuff. Well, the fun stuff is eating, but I'll still rock with this, you know. We have our chives, and we have our zucchini. This is a zucchini squash. Chives or scallions or green onions, whatever you prefer to call them. We're not going to use this all. This is another item that I want to keep some because I use it all the time. We're just going to use a little bit. So what you're going to do is, on an angle, and they roll a little bit, just cut down, right? Cut down, move to the stalks. And you can leave yourself this part right here. Now, just like I did with the tops of the peppers and onions, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this aside. Because why? In the morning or at any meal, when I want a couple of these things, I've already got it prepped and it's ready to go. That bag goes in your refrigerator. Trust me, that's a hack that if you cook a lot, you will come to really, really appreciate. You'll be like, yo, chef put me on game. That's all I'm gonna say, all right? So let's slide this over, okay? Now let's get ready to cut our zucchini. This was interesting. Round must be made flat. Where do we start, right? We know we got to cut our butts off. Okay. But that doesn't really help us as much. So what next? So here, let's make this smaller. Let's cut it in half and let's stand it up. Now, once it's stood up, we're going to make 3 vertical cuts. 1, 2, 3. I feel like the Tootsie Roll lollipop dude, you know? How many licks does it take to get to? So 3 vertical cuts. 1, 2, and 3.
And folks, we have some background noise going on. If you are unable to hear Chef Chad
I can talk loud.
clearly, let me know, because all of a sudden there's a bunch of background noise.
That's what happens when you get ready to do something. When you make the 3 cuts, you get 4 cross sections that now you can lay down. See, 4 individual cross sections. So now we can lay it down. Now we have manageable small pieces. That is always our goal, right? Manageable small pieces. So let's go ahead and let's cut these again. So lengthwise, turn, just like the onion, right? And that's the thing. We get scared of doing a lot of knife work in our kitchen, but we don't realize the cuts, it's so repetitive. It's the same thing. It's just a different style, right? So you cut it lengthwise, you turn it, and these are little cubes. Now you could make half moons or crescents or other stuff. Once again, those are very sexy. And if this was a side by itself, that's how we cut it. But because this is going with the pasta, I want to be particular about it. I got to stir my pasta again. Please stir your pasta, guys. Please stir your pasta.
If you have questions, go ahead and unmute yourself or drop it in the chat.
Thank you for that. I have a question.
Yes.
So if you don't eat shrimp, what is a good fish to use as a substitute that's
Oh my
nice and
God.
sturdy?
Nice and sturdy, mahi-mahi.
Yeah.
Very sturdy, and it'll hold up. But also, too, salmon, even though it doesn't hold up as much, like even though it's going to break apart, it's really good as like a hash. So if I were to use salmon or even the mahi, especially, I would take some of the same onions and peppers that I have here, and I would saute them with the salmon. It is really, really good as a hash. I actually do that often, but mahi-mahi is going to be your firmer. That's going to be the tough one.
What about snapper?
Snapper's good too. Snapper's really good. Think about what's easier to find. Yeah, snapper's also good. My wife, see, she's on it, on a fish game. So I turned on my skillet. Well, I thought I did. I now have turned on my skillet, and we're gonna get that hot right there, and we're just gonna do a quick saute. While I'm waiting for my skillet to get hot, I am prepping my last thing. So in the kitchen, you're always moving, right? We're never standing still. If I'm doing one thing, I can do something else. So while I'm waiting for this, let's go ahead. We're just taking the cherry tomatoes, the grape tomatoes, and we're just cutting them in half, right? And we're just
suppose somebody doesn't like onions. Can this recipe go without onions?
1000%.
Is there something else? Like, can we use a different?
Well, it calls for
combination?
olives, and I'm not a big fan of olives. So I just left the olives out, right? If you don't like onions, you can use peppers, you can use carrots, you can use anything. The onions add a little crunch, but they do add a lot of flavor. Those are yellow onions, which I like, but you can always get red onions, which are a lot softer, or Vidalia, sweet onions. And if you really absolutely can't stand onions, well, guess what? The bottoms of these chives are a great substitute. They're milder. They've got a little flavor too. Yeah, or just leave it all the way out. No harm, no foul, for real. All right. So cut those up. We're ready. This is almost hot. Just like my rule about cutting, when I say, hey, you got to cut your butts off, make everything flat, I also have a rule about not cooking in a cold pan. The pan needs to be hot, okay? So when you turn it on, don't instantly throw stuff in. Wait for it. In a wok, we're looking for white smoke. And it's going to give it gives a different flavor. It's going to allow me to caramelize my vegetables almost instantly.
What's caramelized, Chef?
Caramelized is when you bring out the natural sugars. So it's that brown color or charred. That is actually the sugars on the vegetables burning. So onions, peppers, all of them, they will all char, and it becomes amazing. Now zucchini has a lot of water, so we don't want to overcook that. We don't want that to become mushy. So for this here, that's why I said it's going to be a very light saute. So I'm waiting for my pan to get smoky hot. I'm not touching it when I do this. I'm just putting my hand here because I want to hear it. I want to feel it. And yes, I do use every sense in the kitchen, but I want to feel it, right? And I feel how hot it is right here. That's about right. Me, I'm one of them people. I'm gonna let you just a little hotter. Got my vegetable oil. I keep it in a squirt bottle so I don't have to use too much. I'm always just gonna hit the bottom of the pan with just a little bit. You hear that? Drop it in. If you don't hear that, it was not hot enough. Okay? Now, like I said, I'm gonna lightly season it. I'm using a shrimp seasoning, which is our own blend of seasonings. And this has a little bit of, you got some crushed peppers in here, you got some garlic, you have some pink sea salt, you got a little bit of lime and citrus in there, because guess what? Seafood loves citrus. And you got, a couple of other things, some paprika.
So if they have, if they don't have our seasoning, what are they using at home that's a good sort of substitute?
Whatever your favorite blend is. A lot of people will use some adobo. A lot of people will use it's called for the dry jerk. So I have this. We're going to use that on the shrimp.
Old Bay. Maria said
Bay.
Old Bay. Yeah, if you put some Old Bay.
We right here, girl. We right.
I like lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper.
Especially with this because it's a shrimp po' boy.
Well, that's why
lemon pepper.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. In this blend, it's already got some cedar.
We got a yes.
And you can smell it. So I want to show you something, right? You can see, if I pick up these individual pieces, do you see that char? That char right there, that's what we were trying to get in the.
To eat vegetables. Like if you are cooking vegetables at home and you're boiling them or steaming them and they end up really soggy, you're not going to get the response. But like with the char, if you're adding just a little bit of oil and your pan is really hot and you're charring it, you're also able to not leave it in as long. So you still get the crunch, you still get the nutrients. You get like all of those things, but you're still getting the flavor. So it's in the cook technique, right?
It really is, man. Wife, Dave, you surprised me. I'm gonna let you make dinner because
I'm not making dinner. You do like 1,000 times better than I do.
But you're nice though. You know all this stuff. So this right here is almost done. Like I said, we're only gonna do a quick saute. Okay? The goal was not to cook it. Normally you want to caramelize our onions, but we have squash and zucchini here. The goal is just to make it taste not so fresh. And remember that when I put this in this bowl, it is still cooking.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're gonna take this off now.
It's got that carryover heat.
Carryover heat is a great term. And we are going to,
And it's still got the nutrients in it, right? Like you heard it when it hit the bowl, right? It's not soft. Like if you take a look at it, it's still nice.
it's still
and
very firm. You can feel
firm.
this. It's not squishy. That's what you don't want. You don't want squishy. It's still very firm. And
keep
I'm
all
gonna
of the
leave
nutrients.
my pot. I'm gonna turn my pot down, but I'm gonna leave it on because I want it to stay hot because the shrimp is coming next. But I want to finish the pasta so we can put that aside and then come on after our pasta and go to our shrimp.
And man, this trio, right? It is a trio, isn't
This
it?
is a
It's
trio.
onions and
Onions, peppers, yeah.
well,
Onions,
you added tomatoes,
onions,
right?
peppers. I didn't add tomatoes yet. Onions,
Okay.
peppers, and zucchini.
Onions, peppers, and
So it is a
zucchini.
trio.
You can also use this for as a filling for tacos,
Tacos,
right?
oh
like
my
if you
God.
wanted to do some vegetarian tacos, or if you just wanted to add the shrimp that we're about to make, you can use that again. I think the versatility of recipes is what you're looking for.
That's what we're trying to get to, right?
I think one of the things that I don't like is finding a recipe that is so specific that I have to buy very specific ingredients for that recipe. And then I never use those ingredients again. I only use it like one time for that recipe. I think what's really great about this recipe is that you can turn it into so many different things, right?
It's the versatility, but that versatility also comes from you saying, hey, look, I'm going to change this up a little bit because I'm not going to let them dictate what I have to eat. Speaking of which, this called for, the pasta called for fresh basil or parsley. And of course,
You spilling.
I know,
I see you.
I'm going to use some beautiful, beautiful pesto. This is a basil
Where'd you get
pesto.
that?
Oh man, listen, if you call for basil and parsley, I'm thinking to myself, well, why not add Parmesan? Why not add something else? So pesto.
Where'd you
we
get the
love
pesto?
Pine nuts. I got the pesto at Publix. And because I have a whole bowl here, I use about 4. We're gonna go ahead and get one more for good measure, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna show you another modification on this recipe here as well. And I'll leave the pesto so we can see it and just wipe off my hands because I got to spill it. It called for red wine vinegar.
Oh, Maria wants to know garlic.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Always, 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 always.
Web,
put one.
Weber has, I mean, apart from the seasonings that Chef makes, my favorite sort of commercial seasoning is Weber roasted garlic.
Garlic.
Is it roasted garlic?
Weber roasted garlic.
Weber has a roasted garlic. You can find it at Walmart or Publix or Winn-Dixie even,
everywhere,
I think.
everywhere. Sam's, Costco.
And it's a dry seasoning, but it's one of the more
dehydrated
flavorful.
garlic pieces. So it comes
Yeah.
back. The dehydrated bell peppers, it comes back. It's really nice.
So it's much different than garlic powder, which sort of loses its flavor in reference to sort of a more fresh garlic or a dehydrated garlic. So if you're
Yes.
interested in finding a
That's
great
a great seasoning. And that's why with this, that's what I said we're going to modify. It called for red wine vinegar, but because I have the pesto, I'm going to go ahead and use some rice wine. And because the pesto already had oil, instead of using as much olive oil, we're just going to use a little bit, just a touch, really just a touch, right? And I know that looks like, why even bother? But you do need something in there. The rice wine vinegar, we also don't want to use too much of this. This is a milder flavor than red wine vinegar. And with pesto, I don't want to make it too acidic. I still want it to be savory. So once again, just need to touch, we're going to do a little bit more, but still it's a touch, okay? Now you can substitute any of those vinegars. We got to add a seasoning to this. This, I do want to kind of match my shrimp. So I'm going to add this right here.
So what is that?
This is the dry jerk, and I'm just covering the top a little bit. Okay?
Just for a little bit of spice. So if they don't have dry jerk,
Little crushed red peppers. If you're really adventurous, cayenne. right? Something with garlic, like the roasted garlic that my wife is talking about. You see all the colors coming out of here. The pesto is really light in this, but it's so amazing. It's gonna add the touch. Once again, this is not meant to be overpowering. It's just meant to have a nice, light flavor, cool salad, cool pasta salad.
And
All right.
if, you know, I will say that if you are like me and you don't cook all that much, I have seen Chef make this recipe before, and I sort of cheated because I got a light Italian dressing
And just use that.
and I just used that.
No problem.
I put the pasta with the onions and the zucchini, and I put the light Italian dressing. I just drizzled that over it. And I added craisins because I like craisins.
That's your thing.
It is my thing. I like a little bit of sweet with my savory. So
So we love it. So now we're gonna do our last two ingredients and we're gonna serve this and we're done. So quick. I'm reheating my skillet. While my skillet reheats, we're gonna go ahead and start on our coleslaw because this is a 30-second scenario right here. A lot of people don't think it's slow. We're gonna empty that right into the bowl. You know, in the South, we use coleslaw in a lot of different ways. So we just adapted some of that. Instead of, your mustard and your mayo, okay, which goes in, we're gonna use jerk barbecue and a little bit of coconut milk. Shake up coconut milk.
interesting.
Yeah. Just a quick little flip. And that's all cooking is. You gotta understand, we all eat the same things, no matter where you're from. And this is where you can take your cultural stuff, and you can add it in, you can flip any recipe. So go ahead, add a little bit, not the whole can of coconut milk, just a little bit, right? About a quarter of the can. Add in the jerk barbecue sauce. This jerk barbecue has a lot of good flavor. Coconut milk just helps to balance it. And now we're gonna toss it, and guess what? That is item number 2 in the can. It's a wrap.
Barbecue coleslaw.
Jerk barbecue coleslaw. Trust me, you'll love this. If it's a little too spicy for you, add just a touch of sugar in. That'll also make the kids do it. But for me, I say go with it just like this, okay? Go from here. All right, so that's 2. That's down. Now on to our shrimp. And guess what we can do once we do our shrimp? We can eat. That's our favorite part. Now my wok, is it back hot again?
And while Chef is doing that, I'm going to say that if you have a question, either drop it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself right now and ask any questions that you have as Chef does this last step.
Last step before plating. So I'm just gonna let the shrimp drain a little bit. It's already hot. Yeah, I love that sound. Yeah. Let's go. And you notice I'm gonna give it a 30 seconds or so in between each drop just to let my pan recover some of its heat. Right? And with some of those that just put in, I'll slide them off to the side so that once again the pan can recover just a little bit more of the heat.
And again, if you joined late, someone had asked like as alternative sort of seafood that we could use with this recipe, and Chef recommended salmon,
Snapper, mahi.
Yeah.
You know, and shrimp. Why we do shrimp last is because shrimp cooks in 4 to 5 minutes. It is so quick, and you don't want your shrimp to cook till it's rubbery. So you want to do that last because otherwise we be trying to keep it hot and then we lose a lot of the good stuff. We don't want to lose any of our good stuff really. All right, so I'm just gonna pull out something to work my shrimp with, and now we're just gonna work it in the wok. I'm gonna hit this with a little seasoning. Remember what they said, right? Adobo and the dry jerk for the shrimp. So I'm gonna give it just a little bit of the dry jerk, just right on top, nothing too crazy. Okay. And I'm not going to use adobo. I'm just going to use some of my shrimp seasoning. My lady who said, get the Old Bay.
Get the Old Bay.
Get the Old Bay, y'all. Get the Old Bay.
Or lemon pepper.
Or lemon pepper.
I love lemon pepper.
Okay. We're just going to let those cook. While those are cooking, we're going to set up our landing pad because I want to eat. I know everybody else is ready too. So I have beautiful stoneware for you. That's our plate for the day. I know, I love the little things. Y'all know me. It's all about the little touches. Food is one of those things where the decoration, the touches matter. You know, you smell the food and it's smelling so good. Then you see it and then you eat it. And because that's how it rolls, you don't want to just give someone, you know, you spend all this time hyping them up, getting them ready with the smell, and then they see it and they're like, eh. So take a little bit of time with presentation. You don't have to do what a chef does, but you want to take a little bit of time, okay? Just a little bit. So we're gonna take these. One of those little things is because we're using whole wheat buns, a simple hack is just to make sure that they're all kind of facing the same way, right? Open them up. A little pre-prep. Isn't this funny? I'm telling y'all how to open up buns.
Hey, sometimes.
Sometimes. And this is where you get the people with the little hands, okay? The people with the little hands. All right, and 4 doesn't quite fit on here the way I wanted to, so we're gonna go back to 3. All right, my shrimp are almost done. Can you see it? They're turning pink. I need about another minute on these. I wanna make sure they're fully cooked. So there's a couple down there that are still not fully pink. You gotta be careful because you don't want to make someone sick. Okay, so just another minute. Make sure they're all cooked before you serve them. All right. Because I'm waiting for that, there is something else I can still do. Salad right on this.
You extra shit. Did someone unmute themselves? Does anybody have a question?
Anybody have a question?
Let me check the chat as well.
All right. All right, these are looking good. Let's go ahead and plate them.
Ooh, someone said, send me the location so we can sample.
Come on over.
We are all the way in Orlando.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a drive.
It's a little bit of a drive, but I promise it's probably worth it. Ooh, very pretty.
Yeah, I'm almost done, y'all, so we can eat.
Presentation is big, especially when you're trying to get folks to eat. When you're trying to get folks to eat better, presentation is a big deal. So if you notice, Chef is actually turning all of the shrimp the same way.
And I'm fighting against nature.
He's putting the butterfly side open.
Yes, yes. Now, I'm just gonna put a little bit of slaw up here.
Very nice, Chef.
All right. Now, questions, guys, 'cause I know we're running close on time. So just give me a couple of questions. Let's go.
You've got another 3 minutes. All right, so as Chef continues doing that, go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions or drop them in the chat because we're paying attention.
We are. Even though I am focused on my plating efforts, I hear you.
Oh, yes. Suggestions on good beverages to accompany this.
Oh, this is definitely a wine spritzer kind of situation.
Wine spritzer, right? Ooh, nice summer spritzer.
Yeah, man. Get a little, for summer spritzers, get a little Sprite or ginger ale, right? A little Sprite or a little ginger ale.
A little
Get
mango,
a
like a
mango.
mango nectar.
Mm-hmm. Get a nice wine that you like. It doesn't have to just be a white, it could be a red, okay? You mix those two up, oh my gosh. That is it. And wine is still healthy.
Can I get the foil?
Oil, yes, you can.
All right, so present your plate, Chef.
I'm gonna present it. I'm just handing over some foil because, like we said, nature's trying to join in.
All right.
Look at that, family. Look at that. From all angles, we're gonna do a spin like this is one of those 360 cameras at the clubs now. Food is spinning.
You're so silly.
You'll see that from all angles.
All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. You got a looks great. Thank you. Looks yummy. I'm sure it will be. Our children will see. Thank you.
Thank you for working through the technical difficulties.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being flexible. Thank you for waiting for us while we figured it out. Thank you all so much for joining. We will be back again, I believe, in August with another class, but you're gonna get the recording for this class. Also, our email is chefculture with a K,
Yep.
chefculture@gmail.com if you have any questions for Chef. Thank you all so much. Thanks to Etna, thanks Nicole
Thank you,
and
Nicole.
Charnel for putting
Charnel,
this
you know it's
together.
love.
Appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks,
Yes, we will.
everyone.
Thank you.